We begin our report with breaking news. Former Vice President Mike Pence testified before a grand jury Thursday. Video shows him leaving court earlier. CBS News has confirmed that Pence appeared before a special counsel who's investigating the January 6th insurrection and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Robert Costa has more details from Washington.
Special counsel Jack Smith got his star witness today, former Vice President Mike Pence, whose appearance before the grand jury was one former President Donald Trump repeatedly tried to block. Trump, citing executive privilege, wanted to stop Pence from sharing details about the days leading up to the January 6th attack and Trump's pressure campaign to overturn the 2020 election.
Will you, for example, be able to testify, in your view, about the private conversations you have had with President Trump?
People can be confident that we'll obey the law, we'll comply with the law.
Trump leaned on Pence privately and publicly on January 6th.
And I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so.
Pence's refusal to block the certification of the election infuriated Trump. Now, with Pence moving closer to entering the race for the White House, his testimony today could affect the legal and political fate of his potential rival.
There may be no better witness about what the president knew and was going to do and tried to do than the vice president himself.
And Robert Costa joins me right now. Bob, let's talk about the significance of what's going on. Just wondering, in terms of the role that the former vice president's testimony could play in the grand jury's investigation, how significant?
This is very significant because former Vice President Mike Pence was present at the creation of all of these legal and political schemes to stop Joe Biden from getting certified as the next president of the United States. He was the fulcrum of all of these efforts to try to make sure that Trump could stay in power. And because of that, he is able to provide the special counsel potentially with a real window into what was happening in terms of conversations, memos, documents, correspondence about how this was all coming together into what some sources say could be a conspiracy case made by the government.
Now, as you just reported, of course, Mike Pence is moving closer to a potential presidential run himself in 2024. So how does this interface with that?
I was just with former Vice President Pence in Iowa over the weekend. As all of these investigations hover, Pence continues to move closer to that 2024 campaign, talking to voters in Des Moines and Jefferson, Iowa, shaking hands, holding events, certainly not staying in the political shadows. He wants to be in the spotlight, engaging with Republican voters, still wondering exactly what his path could be ahead. Talking to his advisors, he is seeing himself as possibly the real movement conservative, traditional conservative who could mount a run for the Republican nomination. And he's someone who at this stage in his career sees some upside to running. At least he could articulate his ideas, define himself in all these investigations and his policies on his own terms.
Of course, he would have quite the tightrope there, because if he's seen as being critical of Donald Trump, that hurts him in any kind of primary situation. But then in the general, there's sort of another angle there.
But that would be pretty standard fare for anyone running against Trump for the nomination. If you choose to jump into this race, whether you're Pence or Nikki Haley or former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who's thinking about it, New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu, who's also thinking about it, I could go on and on. They all have to make a calculation. If you run for the nomination, can you do it by taking on Trump to a point, but also making your own case to voters? How do you balance that all out? Hey, these are professional politicians. This is why they're playing at this level, and that's something they all have to decide on their own.
Robert Costa, thanks so much.